Welcome to the Call to Write chat. I'm April Gardner from Write Start Fiction Studio, where we help Christian fiction writers start right, stay faithful to their calling, and finish strong. This series is all about conversations with Christian writers and the unique paths God has used to bring them to the page. Today, I'm delighted to welcome author Denise M. Colby. Hi, Denise.
Hello.
A lifetime lover of history, Denise is especially fascinated by the 19th century and enjoys imagining what life was like for those who lived it. Her passion for storytelling extends beyond novels to articles, theater, music, and film, reflecting a deep appreciation for the power of story. A dedicated member of the writing community, she loves encouraging fellow writers and sharing the lessons she's learned along her publishing journey. I'm excited to have her with us today. So here's your official welcome, Denise.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm excited to be actually talking about all this.
Oh, great, great.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about what you write and where you are in your publishing journey.
So I write historical Christian romance. I actually started writing back in 2012, so 14 years ago. And my first book was published 2 years ago in 2024. So it took me 12 years to get my first book published. And I ended up with a 4 book contract. And then my latest book just released in May. And then I'm continuing writing at this point. But yes, and I think, I'll explain a little bit later as we get into some other questions of how that got started and everything. So,
Oh, 12 years. That's a long journey. That's a
mhm,
really long journey.
mhm,
Um, but you were determined to publish traditional. And so you stuck it out and you said a 4 book contract?
mhm. Yes.
Congratulations.
I won the grand prize, the Scrivenings Press Get Pubbed grand prize, and that included a publishing contract. It was probably my 29th, 30th contest I had entered, and I was at a point where I wanted to quit again. And it's all God's timing. And I know
Wow.
that more now after going through the process. Um, but yes, definitely his hand was in this whole journey thing, which is why I'm excited to share today.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and do that? And while you're sharing that journey, tell us what calling means to you, how you felt God moving through your writing, how you knew it was of him and that you were supposed to be writing Christian fiction.
So I kind of look at calling as like a nudge. You feel God nudging you, right? And I think that with that nudge, it could be something that just takes you out of your comfort zone, or you may not know how to do, but you feel that nudge, and you either have a choice to obey or not. And so here's my little story of this. I was with my oldest son on his fourth grade field trip. I live in California, and the fourth grade field trip was to Sacramento, California, which is where our capital is. And the classes go to a one-room schoolhouse. And I'm in this one-room schoolhouse, and they have on the wall the rules that the teacher had to follow. And, I love history, so all the history parts. And this idea pops in my head. Oh, I wonder what it'd be like to be, and of course, I grew up reading Little House on the Prairie, Love Comes Softly, like all of those that have this one room schoolhouse genre in it. And I was like, it'd be fun to, create a story in that. But I'm not going to do that. I have too much on my plate. I'm going to ignore that. And so 2 years later, I'm with my second son on the same field trip in the same one room schoolhouse. And God's nudging and poking me again and again. And the in those 2 years, I'd finish a book, a book I would really enjoy, and the desire to want to write a story was there. And again, I was more a math whiz in high school, not English. Grammar's probably my weakest subject. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I mean, I like storytelling. I'm a dancer. I love musical theater. I teach choreography, and I've done assistant directing for plays. Movies are a big thing in our family and all that sort of stuff. And I love to read. But write a story? No, I'm not going to do that. So, um, that was one of the things that I was like, okay, I guess I need to start and figure this out. And so I did. I started writing something. I showed it to two friends. They were the two friends I dedicated my first book to because they saw my very first writing and encouraged me. One went with me to my first writing group meeting that I went to. Um, my husband bought me a membership way back then to Romance Writers of America so that I could go and learn. And I had no idea what I was doing. I feel like I earned a whole other master's degree in this 12 years of working on it. But I don't know if that answers all the question that you're looking for, because that nudge was there, the calling. It wasn't something that I was like, oh, I want to do this. It was definitely, and there'd be things I would read and things that I would just each step of learning that was like we got connection that all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I need to be doing this.
Mm.
So some of that.
No, you know what? I think that's so neat how when you say it's a nudge, but it was a nudge that was almost anti Denise because you said that wasn't your strength and that wasn't something
Mm-mm,
that you were like, this is what I've always wanted to do, which is a hint that is not coming from you. This is coming from another source. And so then I come to the question, why? Why do we feel like, you specifically in your story, why do we feel like God calls us out of our comfort zone to do something that might be a weakness, even? Because you said that your strengths was the maths and you know the science part of it, and that this grammar was your weaker, so that you didn't feel that you like this was your wheelhouse. So then the
mm-mm.
question is, why? Why does God prompt us to write fiction, Christian fiction specifically?
I don't know if we ever have that answer, because I think as writers, we kind of, there's that self doubt that continues even when we've successfully have launched a book and that sort of thing. Um, but I will say the journey has been an amazing thing. I've learned a lot about myself. Um, I knew that once I set this goal of being published, um, I wanted to be an example to my kids of never giving up on your dreams, or that your chapter can change. You're not stuck in the one thing that you think your life is.
Yeah.
You can learn anything new.
A master's
And
degree
take the,
level knowledge of writing and
yeah,
craft.
right. I think there's so many things, but I think I also, my faith grew. My faith grew by being obedient. It grew by writing faith in there, which I had to figure out what I was going to write. That was the other thing too, because I'm in a writing group with so many different genres within the romance, piece. And I knew I wanted to write something with faith in it, but did I want to have characters that were just strong characters?
Mm.
And be more mainstream, or did I want to write more in the niche market? And I kind of had to figure that out, and I just kept writing. And then as I wrote, it just was there. It's like I'd be in church and a sermon would happen and I'm like, oh, I want to include that. Like there'd be things like that that God would
Yeah.
speak to me and say, I mean, he guided me through the whole thing. And every time I wanted to quit, I would pray. And believe me, there were times I wanted to quit, multiple times. And I'd pray and I'm like, God, I mean, it's like I'd get the feedback on a thing and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like this, who's ever going to buy this? Like, or whatever. And, or I was told this is great. I finaled or I semi-finaled in the Genesis one year. And then the suggestion was change these things. So I did. And then the next year I didn't semi-final at all. And so it was like, I'm so confused. What am I supposed to do? Those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So
So, in those 12 years, you said that there were several times that you wanted to quit, but
mm,
you had figured out at this point, and I'm curious to know, did this factor into your decision to continue, um, the fact that you had realized that those nudges were from the Lord? Did that influence your decision at all, or had you not figured that out at that point?
no,
How did that all
absolutely.
line
I
up?
kind of knew from the beginning.
Okay.
Um, and I had to be in sync with him to help me know what I should do. Okay.
Mm,
I have a stubborn streak in me. I wanted to write something a certain way, and that would be the thing I might need to change. And so I'd have to learn to do something different about it and try it. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to mess up my manuscript. I'll go over here and write it differently. And then it was like, oh, I actually could do this differently. Like, there's things that you can do, but you don't know until you do them.
Mhm.
And that's why you have to keep trying, and you keep,
Yeah.
being a part of writing groups, being a part of other people's journeys, learning from them. Just all of those things are so important.
Mhm.
It's, even though it's a solitary existence, it really isn't at the same time,
Yeah.
because we want the feedback. You need the feedback as you're going.
It's imperative. It really is. So you're saying you stay connected to the Lord. I love that you brought that up because He has recently shown me that our calling goes two ways. First, He calls us to write. And then as we start the journey, we're calling on Him for the strength and the wisdom and the
Hmm.
guidance. And He
Hmm.
continues to reaffirm that calling. And we continue to call on Him because then the road gets harder and harder as we hit those insecurities and imposter syndrome and all of those emotional barriers,
Hmm.
spiritual barriers that come up in our hearts and our minds that we have to get through. And we do that by leaning on Him and by that community that you're talking about. That's really great.
So, interesting thing. Here's a little side story. Sorry, and I don't mean to go off onto
No,
a
no, go for
tangent,
it.
but I was reading the book, The Story of With, which is by Alan Arnold. It was a friend suggested it, and I read it, and it spoke to me about how we create with God. And that's what the whole topic of the book is about. And so, what was really interesting is as I was reading it, I felt nudged to build a website page about prayer journaling. And one of the elements I wanted to put in my stories was some sort of journal entry, or have my characters have a prayer, have a journal that turns into a prayer journal. I'm a big prayer journaler, and I really wanted to show how easy it is. That was something that I wanted to show, but I didn't know yet exactly how that was going to show up in my stories. And so then this nudge happened with, build this, on your website. And I'm like, well, that distracts me from writing my
Mm,
book, but okay, I'm going to build this. And so I kind of did a stepping stone. I created a design page you could download off my website. But what it did is it helped me figure out even more so what I wanted to put in my story by doing that. And so even though it was a side thing and a nudge, there was a lot of aha moments that came with it, the clarity of, oh, I could incorporate this. And what's interesting is all these years, I mean, and this was early on when I did this. It's my number one page that gets hit on my website,
wow. I did see
which
that
is really
page. I was one
interesting.
of your hits.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's
it's a very
fascinating.
interesting thing. I'd like to do more with that, but
Mhm.
again, with the deadlines and all those different things, um, that's very humbling
Yes, it
for
is.
me.
And I love how he used it. It's kind of a cyclical
Hmm.
thing. You followed the guiding over here and you built this thing. Meanwhile, he's building the other thing. Nothing goes to waste in God's economy.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It's
No,
wonderful.
no. Yeah.
So what would you say? Because when people listen to our stories of our writing journeys and we talk about, it's the trials of it, the angst of writing, it's this beautiful agony. And people listening who maybe might be considering starting to write might be going, why would I want to put myself through that? So for someone who's in that position, who's considering it, what might you say to them?
Mm. I would encourage them to write even just 5 minutes a day. So don't put yourself where you're dropping everything else in your life. You have to figure a way to incorporate it, right? So by writing just a little bit every day, you might find what God's speaking to you about, right? And just kind of testing it, seeing it, and kind of building some things from that, and just see where that goes. If you don't try it, you don't know.
Mhm.
I think we all have nudges in our world, and I think sometimes we're too busy to notice them. Whether it's to pick up the phone and call somebody that's all of a sudden been put on our heart, or um, to text somebody, or to make sure you send a card because somebody's been put on your, just all of those little things. So many times I'm like, I can't do that right now. And then I forget. And then it's like, why didn't I do that? Like, just it's those types of things. So if you're in that with the writing, it may not be writing for publication. It may be writing just for yourself. It may be writing that you share with somebody and that one person needs to see it or hear about it or open the door for you to have a conversation. Hey, what have you been working on lately? And all of a sudden you have this conversation about something that you're writing and it's exactly what that person needs to hear. If we hold ourselves back, we don't know how God's going to use it.
Yeah. Good. Very good. And that really applies to us all through our writing journey. I'm using that method right now because the Lord's put a project on my heart. I think it's from him. I'm in that stage of, okay, is it,
Yeah,
isn't it,
ditto.
like you were doing with that website prayer journaling thing. And so I'm just dedicating a few minutes a day to it. And I just like, okay, I'll just add one more little thought. I'll just do this, take the very next little step. And so it can
Mhm.
apply all throughout our writing journey. We don't have to commit to like some big, huge like award or publication. We're just put down what the Lord puts on our heart today in those 5 minutes that we have. That's really great advice. Okay, Denise. So before we wrap up, tell us where you would like to see yourself in a year, and if you do have a new release. Why don't you share your new release
Mhm.
with us, and then tell us where you'd like to be in a year?
Okay. So my book that just came out is called A Whole New Plan. It is book 4 in my Best Laid Plans series. I love writing about God's plans and how his plans are so much better than our own. And when we allow him to um, I guess, nudge us or direct us into that. Or sometimes the things just unfold and we never could have picked that in the way that we thought or control it or whatever. And so each book has a little bit of a different Bible verse, but that's kind of what the theme is. And I have a total of I have 2 more teachers I want to write about, but they were a story of teachers that came west to teach in one-room schoolhouses in California. That's kind of the premise of it. Um, and yeah, so I'm very excited about
And they're
this actually.
romances, right?
The romance. So it's a Christian romance. So there's a faith arc, but there of growth, in just different ways. Because in this book, he's a pastor and she's a Pinkerton detective. So she lies for a living and he tells the truth.
That's
So
good.
very opposite and all of that. But she is posing as a teacher, but she's really a Pinkerton detective. Um, and
That's
yes,
cute.
I'm really excited about this. It was fun to write.
Yeah. Great premise.
And all of that. So I am currently writing a Christmas story that sits in this series, and then I have 2 more teachers I'd like to write in this series. So my hope is that a book a year, and we'll see. I work full time, so juggling all of that. But I hope to just continue to write. I have some other ideas for some other series. So I don't, it's interesting because I got to this point. So then it's like, am I done? Is this what God,
Mm,
is this as far as he wanted me to be? Is
right.
there more to it? What's next? And I'm kind of in that spot. My 4 book contract's done.
Mm,
All right, God, what is your plan? Like
mm.
what it comes, and so I'm in
Yeah,
those, I think we're always in those
we
stages of
are.
things when we
Is it
take a
an
stop.
assignment or is it a life calling? Kind
Hmm.
of, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah, I
you're
don't,
still in that stage trying to figure that out. But it sounds
yeah,
like you
but
have more stories to tell.
I do a lot more. They keep, I introduce a new character and you got to figure out the backstory, and you're like, oh, I could put them in here and I could do this with them. And so I
Uh,
guess so. So
yeah,
I'm
you
just going to
sound
keep
passionate
going.
about it. I love you. Yep. You sound like you
It's
got the
very
bug.
fun.
You got the writing bug. You got bit.
I guess so. It was never in my game plan for my life. See, best
Uh,
laid plans.
I
It's God's
know.
plans.
I love that. I love how God just, yeah, takes our lives and just goes "Zhoop," this way. I didn't have a plan for my life, but he decided this is how it was going to go. But I was the same as you, where I was like, this is not my strength. But he takes our weaknesses, and in his power and in his, we're his creation. He can make us into anything he wants us to be. And he made it into my
Hmm.
strength. And so we can lift our hands up to him and 100% give him all the glory because it's not us. It's not in our nature to do this. But okay.
It's
Yes.
interesting. So. a couple of the reviews that are coming on the new book are not about the romance, they're about the faith elements.
Ah,
And what's interesting is I don't feel like I wrote those. I feel like God wrote those. And so I'm like, okay, that's what it's
that
supposed to be
goes out.
about.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, perfect. Those are the best. Those are the best ones when they get it. When they get see the heart of the book and they get it and they put it on the page. You know what I
Hmm.
really, really love is when they pull out stuff that I didn't see or didn't intentionally put in, but
Hmm.
God's using it. It's just when we talk about him, the Holy Spirit gets in there and does a beautiful work that we never could have imagined.
Definitely.
Well above what
Definitely.
we
You
could have
just put
imagined.
that, you just packaged that up at a perfect yes. Because that's what I'm looking at right now is, it's newly out. And I'm like, what are this response? Is everyone okay? Because given he's a pastor, I didn't want to be like preaching to people, but they seem to be responding to it, which I'm really thankful for.
Praise God for that. Oh,
Hmm.
Denise, it's been so lovely talking to you and getting to know you and your story. Where can listeners find you on the internet?
I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram, BookBub, Goodreads. My books are in Amazon. They're also online. So the ebooks are, I'm with Scribnings Press. So all their ebooks are on Amazon, but printed books can be at Barnes and Noble, Walmart.com, Books a Million, and other places if you just, books on
Okay.
demand. And then I have my website too.
Which is
So
Denise M, as in um, Mickey Mouse. And
that's
Denise
a
M.
perfect one for me.
I thought of that because I saw that you like Disney.
Yes, very much so.
Denise
Very much
M.
so.
Colby, Colby, correct? Okay.
That's
All right.
correct.
And that's where readers, interested readers can find you. And I hope that you do. Your
And
stories sound delightful.
if they go there, they can get sign up for my newsletter, which I send out once a month. I have Bible verse themed stickers that I do drawings for every month from the readers that
Okay. Oh,
respond,
fun.
those sorts of things. It's kind of
Very
fun to do
fun.
that.
Yeah. And also your prayer journal webpage. Check that out too.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
So
It was great having you, Denise.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.